And welcome. We are back. This is the Bottomless Podcast. That is spelled BTT. Oh shit, BTTML. Yeah, I thought I put an extra T in there. That is spelled BTTMLESS. If you are a return listener, thank you and welcome back. If you are a first time listener, welcome. We hope you stick around. If you're a last time listener, sad to see you go. Sad face. Hopefully you come back eventually. Shout out to anyone who's listening to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other streaming platform. If you're watching on YouTube, you are the true MVP. And thank you for choosing to look at our faces. My name is Kevin, and these two are
Leslie and Vincent.
Kevin, Leslie, and Vincent. And we are three friends. No one special. I live in Floribama. Vince lives in LA. Leslie lives in Hawaii. And we're just three friends doing a podcast.
1, 2, 3.
Remote
Microphone.
control.
Leslie, what was yours?
Okay, mine was tomato. Vince's was microphone. What was yours, Kevin?
Remote control.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, this is
Okay.
easy.
1,
Wait.
2. 1, 2, 3.
Crock
Veggie
pot.
Tales.
I said Veggie Tales.
All right. Well, thank you for participating in that fruitless exercise. And we hope that you had fun.
We have no chemistry.
What?
Don't worry, y'all. 20 episodes in, we're gonna replay this game and just like crush it.
First round.
Okay. All right. So
How you doing?
it's a week out from the election and on the day of this recording, and this is going to come out one day after the election. So yeah, I'm feeling quite anxious. I woke up and was anxious. And that's a kind of a thing that I now can recognize, which I didn't used to be able to easily identify. But at this point, I'm like, oh, I can tell, like, this is a thing that's going to need to be managed today. And the symptom that manifested most today was sort of like, I feel like I'm like floating out of my head and like my body, and it's really hard to like, it's like my thoughts are all like floating up here, and then they'll ping off of little like my brain down here, but it's like really hard to like get tasks done and like focus.
I love detachment.
Is that what that is?
Perhaps. I don't know.
How are you guys feeling? This lip point.
For those of you listening on Spotify, whenever Vince wants me to go, he pruses his lips at me to like point at me with his lips.
When season 1 is done, I actually have been thinking we need to make little like highlight reels of like something that all of us consistently do, and we'll just do one of like every time Vincent like points at someone with his lips, every time Kevin brings up an old flame or a current flame. And I don't know what mine would be yet.
Shout out to my current flame who don't fuck with me.
Ooh,
anyway,
we know.
She said she might start fucking with me. I'll go first. So, not to be insensitive,
My man.
I'm not out of touch or out of tune. It's not that I don't care. So I've always just been disconnected from politics, and I even went on a journey of like, why am I like that? And I think early on, around early 20s, when I was like, of course, 18, when I was able to vote, I asked myself that question. And I think it's because, number one, I like growing up as like a brown Asian kid in this country. I don't like, well, that's not true, because like there's people like I look up to, like Hassan Minhaj, who really does care about politics and does, I don't know, there's something, I think it's a mixture of, I lived outside of this country for a long time in my life because my dad was in the military. It's because the way we orient ourselves in lives and the priorities we make of things, like, for example, I want to be an artist and I want to be a poet, and I never really cared for politics.
You are an artist and a poet.
Thank you, Leslie. So there's all these things that go into like it's a chore and a labor. What I'm trying to say is a chore and a labor for me to have to care. I have to make myself care and pay attention. So if I don't, my mind won't even go there. Usually what happens is things like the social upheaval that started happening from like whether it was like May through July with Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Elijah McCain, like all these things. When those things happen, that's when it really comes to the forefront of my mind, and it's a constant. But honestly, ironically, and this is kind of like a luxury for me, my mind isn't really on it. If nothing else, my mind is like, fuck, I need to go vote because like I'm in Florida and like the Florida votes count for real, for real. So I need to go vote. So that's like the main thing is like I need to make sure I do it before election is over. But like other than that, other than the passing thought every now and then, if I need to get out and go vote, I haven't actually been thinking about it.
Here I come in with my usual negativity, but I've actually been feeling kind of good about the election. This will be released after voting ends. I doubt it'll be released before we have a final choice. But either way, I might eat my words. But at this point, it's pretty unlikely that Biden would lose, like much more so than it was in 2016, even though polling was off to an overstated extent. So I have been allowing myself, I was telling someone earlier that I'm allowing myself to daydream a bit about what life post-Trump will be like. And to be clear, it is not rainbows and butterflies, but it's exciting because I feel like since Trump's election, the younger half of the millennial generation, myself included, has gotten politically engaged and activated. And it'll be exciting to be in an administration which won't be working for my interests, but will be at least marginally more receptive than the current administration to like our antagonism, our activism, our protest. So to me, it's exciting, not because I'm expecting anything great, but I feel like it's just a new era of being able to see what really we can do to impact change. So
Yeah.
that excites me. Again, hopefully I don't eat my words, but I'm letting myself cautiously have those daydreams now.
Okay, I don't want to like diverge us too much onto a long train, but are you not worried about like basically the election being stolen via like not counting votes in certain states after a certain time and all of this fear mongering about mail-in ballot fraud and like are you or even if the election doesn't get stolen, like are you not worried about like civil unrest from the losing side after the results?
I am worried. I do think it's like there's a certain level of delusion for anyone to think that the administration that's currently in charge isn't doing everything it can to like steal. I feel like sounds hyperbolic, but I mean to be clear, like
No, it's
rhetoric
happening.
is
Yeah.
quite literally between
The
like the
highest
ballot
levels.
boxes, but specifically the highest people in power
Kavanaugh statement. Yeah.
discrediting like Mellon voting with like no real material
Saying
reason.
that, if the results aren't in that day, that any when it that's just so illogical. So I guess I'm not trying I mean I like your positive outlook, but I guess I'm just genuinely curious, like, are you just not as much worried about though? Or are you
I am concerned, but I'm probably not as worried as some. I think, and again, like I know some people will roll their eyes because like the 2016 polls had Hillary winning, but the extent that they did is vastly overstated, and like the margins Biden over Trump are just so strong that I think if it is a landslide for Biden, it's going to be almost impossible for anyone to try and like steal an election. Again, like the Supreme Court's packed against us in this case, and even certain states are already kind of setting themselves up to not count all mail-in ballots until like bullshit's happening, and I'm concerned. But after a long ass year of everything that could possibly go wrong going wrong, especially like post Bernie, like I think
RIP?
rip. Um, I think it's not unreasonable or illogical to have a little bit of hope right now.
That's
And
good.
to be clear, after it's called, like the day after, the hope goes away and it's back to the like streets and back to agitating. But for the love of God, I would love to agitate against someone that's not Donald motherfucking Trump.
Yeah. Yes. And the cool thing about the anxiety that I'm feeling is that it has a trait in common with something that I would say is essential to having fun, which is the ability to not in this choice, it's not a choice, or in this case, it's not a choice, but sort of like disconnecting from primarily like not being so in control of your own brain, I guess, in a sense. Which that can go a bunch of different ways, and maybe it's specific to people who tend to overthink a bit. Like I definitely sometimes do. And so, yeah, in some senses, like that's a nice segue to talking about fun, which we're talking about today because we're just like really fun people. So we thought, as experts on the topic,
If you can't tell by now, I feel like it's pretty clear between like the talk of death and deconstruction and like depression. I feel like it's very clear how fun we are. So
we
I'm
just
for this.
thought, again, the people are screaming to know our secret to being so fun. So we just thought we'd give you guys what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was kind of just for the sake of a segue, but it's also kind of a real thing. Like, yeah, the ability to get out of your head, I'd say, is something I think about with fun. It's definitely been something I have seeked out this past year, since fun is, like, in a sense, a reprieve from thinking about everything.
In new ways, or like doubling down on things that you already considered fun?
There's been some new ways. There's been some new pathways that I have explored. New conduits.
You don't want to share. Got it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
she don't
Yeah.
wanna share.
No, I
And
just don't want to like dominate the whole
No,
beginning
you
of the
know,
conversation. I don't know, like opening it up, the idea of
Nah.
fun.
For those of you who are listening, what Leslie is trying to say is Hawaii has like a super severe lockdown, and come nighttime when no one can catch her, Leslie be roller skating and breaking all the lockdown rules, and she be running around the
Oh.
city. She don't want to get arrested and thrown in jail, but Leslie breaks all the lockdown rules come sundown. She be having all the fun. But
you do be out here on your rocket power shit. I'm not gonna lie.
for real.
I do like rollerblading, although I'm going to transition into roller skates because they have a little bit more ability to do fun things. And my old rollerblades are like 2 or 3 years old, and I've actually worn down the wheels so much that they're like a little unbalanced now and they hurt my knees. Just fun things.
There's a cute little parking lot next to my new apartment that is always like, I don't know if it's allowed, and I feel like the police are always like circling it, but there's just like a bunch of random like trash, and people just skate it all the time, and it's kind of like
Do you go out there on your scooter?
I do I do not, but it's cool because there's no like park in my neighborhood, like no real park, so I feel like it's our bootleg version of a park, just a cement parking lot with trash.
I found out that my coworker, one of my coworkers just got a pair of roller skates, and I was like, "Oh, I blade. Like, we should skate together." And then my other coworker was like, "Oh yeah, I used to be in roller derby." So we're just gonna form like a little contingency and
Oh yeah,
go
you
skating around
blade.
Honolulu. Yeah.
Kev, do you blade, bro?
Yo, low key, that
Are
was my
you a
shit
blade master?
when I was like 5 years old in Germany, I used to like rollerblade all the time. So my mom bought me a pair.
Same.
So I did used to rollerblade all the time as a kid, and then when I moved to North Carolina at age of 12, then I used to go to the skating rink, and I loved that shit too. And then somewhere around like maybe
71st.
yeah, the skating rink over. Yeah. Shout
Was you
out
there on the black night or the white night? Because I was there both.
both
Both of them.
both of them.
I was there at my Gothic Kids Friday night, and then I was there with the Hood Rats on Saturday night.
Oh shit. So
Wait, but you said, Vincent, you don't like skating.
Oh, I
you
didn't
grow
go to
out
skate.
of it?
I just
You
went to
just
hang
hung out. Oh.
yo, low key.
I can't really skate.
If you was in high school or middle, actually probably middle. Yeah, you was in middle school and you went to the 71st skating rink. Like, yeah, the skating was like the last thing most people were doing. It was like the counter food area. You can hang out there, but the lights would be on over there, or like that little back near the bathroom area, the little like locker.
What you was doing away from the lights?
Oh, like you dancing and shit, or hanging out and shooting
Just
the shit
by
with your
yourself in the
homeboys.
little dark patch of the room.
Like I'm telling you, that shit would be packed out. Motherfuckers would fight in there. Motherfuckers be making out.
There
Motherfuckers
were
be
Not
doing
that big of a rink.
Fights.
It's not that big of a rink.
It's not, but when on a Friday night, I think it's Friday or Saturday, when hip hop or goth night, when that shit, like on those nights, that shit will be packed out. Like the walls will
I'm
be
sad
like.
I missed that. I didn't go until the first time I went to this skating rink. That's our sponsor for this episode, by the way. We should contact them.
Roundabout skating rink on Cliffdale Road in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
But I didn't go until like 2 years ago, like as a full grown adult, and I brought like some teenagers. So it was one of those situations.
There always were those like old creepy
Yeah.
dudes. So I guess Leslie's just the
That
recent
was me. Yeah.
reincarnation of
Newest
that.
iteration of that.
Yeah, sick.
So yeah, those were my skating experiences. And then like when I was like 21, 22, I think I bought a cruiser board because I tried skateboarding
Ooh.
when I was like 11, and then or maybe 13, 14, and then I did it for a couple of days because my friends skateboard. Then I stopped. Then I had a cruiser board when I was 21, 22, and I would just like go to parking lots with my friends and just like it was the funnest shit in the world. But I haven't skated. I don't think I've skated since then.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what do you guys like do for fun now?
Drink heavily.
Not
Uh,
shit. I'm just kidding.
um, yeah,
Or like
Vince, for real, what do you do for fun?
So to be fair, I do enjoy drinking, and trying to make drinks poorly, and going out and having good drinks, which I don't get to do right now. Cheers, because of lockdown. Though LA is opening up some like outdoor bar places, but it just feels,
yeah.
it feels a little sus. But like at home when I'm home alone and bored for fun, I'll usually like try and mix some music, which is fun for me. Have a few drinks, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Disassociate a little bit and mix some music up, which is always a good time. Or like read because that's how exciting I am. That's like fun in pandemic. We've been going to the park a lot, which has been a lot of fun. But all we do honestly is just eat and drink and listen to music and act a fool. But that's been like the most fun I've had probably all quarantine.
Mm. So this might be making the topic of fun too serious and annoyingly like in depth. So just feel free to say so if that's the case. But I actually am
We
really
never do that. So
interested. I'm actually curious, like if we'll arrive at some common elements that are common to like what we think of as solo fun and then what we think of as group fun.
mm.
So like, I mean, my interpretation of what you said, Vincent, you like to do for fun on your own is like the common elements between like making music, having a nice little dissociation, reading, drinking. It's sort of
King.
like it actually involves like your mind in a sense. Because like reading, you're taking a material, like learning, music, you're like applying. Obviously, it's not just all feelings, right? Like you're applying skill and like to get out like what you're thinking about or feeling. So it's some sort of like it seems to have like a creative bend.
Yeah, I think if I'm creating something, like if like working to make something, like
Synthesizing, whether you're
yeah,
synthesizing what you're reading or synthesizing
yeah, I
music.
think that's fun. Or like learning. But yeah, no, that's honestly what I made that one video essay, and I began like two others that just never materialized. But that sense of creation too, of like using like synthesizing, like you said, and to I think anytime I can like literally make something from scratch is fun.
Mm.
I think it's something that I miss in my job. I've noticed that when I first started working, that I didn't like how my job wasn't like I'm not like an engineer that's like creating a product or something, right? I feel like that element is what I look for in fun
By
these days.
yourself or also in groups?
So I feel like mostly by myself, but like back when I was dancing, like collabing
Mm.
with people or just doing like some exchange, like that type of shit is a lot of fun.
That sounds so fun right now. I actually have distinctively had that. Like, I just want to dance with somebody who like you can really vibe with and like,
Eh,
yeah. Ugh.
I miss that. I mean, I have some friends here that I've talked about it, but I'm just so rusty.
Dude,
I
honestly,
haven't got the
same.
dust off enough to do it with somebody right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I think as I got older, things like the things that I do for fun became fewer and fewer. So of course, anything creative back when we were all dancing, going to dance was all fun, but more of the spontaneous things, right? Like there was a time when me, Leslie, and Vince were all in a dance team, and so like me and some of the friends from that dance team, one of the things it was just really ignorant. Don't ever do this at home. One of the things we would do is when jerking was a
Uh-oh.
thing,
My
when
gosh, I forgot
which
about that.
like
Y'all would be out in these
teach me
parking lots
teach me how to
next
jerk,
to Lil
teach me how to
Korea
jerk, teach
Scion
me how to
with his
jerk, teach me
background
how to
skin
jerk.
like backwards skinny jeans and his little snapback on the
Hey,
belt loop.
talk about it. So one of the things we would do, shout out to everyone that I used to do this with. even though I don't fuck with y'all. No, some of y'all know more. One of the things we used to do is we used to pull up at stoplights, and then we would like in my car we would blast the teach me how to jerk music, and we would
I
get out at
remember this.
we would
You
get
guys
out
were
at
so cool.
we got out at the intersections and we would jerk like at the stoplight until that shit turned green, and then we hop back. So like spontaneous shit that's a little like irresponsible shit. So like stuff like
Mm.
that, creative stuff. If I ever get to go, yeah, it's usually if I could do anything in the creative space. I do game nights with some of my friends here, so that's fun. If I ever get to like go to LA and see Vince and drink, and he gets me to do stuff that's like slightly uncomfortable, but like not so
Talk
uncomfortable
about
that
death. We know you go and you drink and you talk about death. That's what we know so far about your
well,
LA
not
trips.
so one. Yeah, so one, no, because one of the cool things is like Vince will never make me. He'll never try to get me to do something that's so uncomfortable that it's like I'm not enjoying myself. But like he'll be like, yo, let's go to shout out Charles. Let's go to Charles' house and like play beer ping pong all night. Or let's like
Ooh, I
let's
love
go
a good drinking game.
let's go meet up with Kaylin and go do so shout out Kaylin. So like yeah, shit like it usually involves alcohol, but usually if I can like but if I can like get up with Vince, or even better, if I can get like Vince and JoJo or and whatever, like if we're back in favor for the holidays. Usually, if I can get with
Close friends who you like
close friends,
really vibe with and
yeah,
trust.
yeah. So like one of the things I'm planning right now, or one of the things I'm trying to do right now, is go see Vince in LA, hopefully in January. And one of the things that I want to do, we've been talking about for a long time, was drunk karaoke. And so shit like that, where
Mm.
it's like embarrassing, but it's embarrassing, but it's fun because like you're with your friends and it's just like a classic thing you have to do. Or for example, like a couple nights ago, not a couple nights, what am I saying? Like 2 months ago, um, I went out to
Relatable. Relatable in
Yeah.
2020.
I went out to this bar, and they were doing like dance, like they had a dance floor and they were doing dances, and I was sitting there. It was like a white bar. There was white night at the bar. They had a black section in the bar that was like closed off, and another section in the back
What's a
area.
Like
white
like
bar?
blacks only section, or
Nah,
What's
like
a
they play
like
well,
the water
in the
fountain on the. Oh, okay.
Wait,
like in the
what is it?
it's like the round. Yeah, I know that sounded bad. It's like the roundabout skating rink. In the white bar, they play country music. In the black bar, they play hip hop music.
It's literally called that?
Well, no,
I
no,
never knew that.
they don't call it that, but that's I mean that's how like
Oh.
roundabout you
Oh,
would say
okay.
roundabout you would say like
The
goth
white
night, and
night.
then you
Yeah.
would say hip hop night. So
Got it.
I was in the white section because my friends are like some of them don't fuck with hip hop, so I was like all right whatever.
Ugh.
But then they played Cha Cha Slide and Cupid Shuffle, and like mind you, it's been 4 years since I've been in a space where I like first off even learned those dances, even knew those dances back in Carolina, Ale House in North Carolina. Terrell Ben, shout out to you. So when they came on, like a flood of memories came back on, and I was drunk, so I was like, oh shit, and I ran out to the dance floor and did the dances, and like that was the first moment I've had fun in a long time. So like shit like that, where it's like
Mm.
anything creative, anything spontaneous, anything that kind of is slightly embarrassing and kind of forces you to like step out of your shell for a second, but you still like aren't so uncomfortable that it's just unbearable. Shit like that. Like
Wait,
I
can you,
love that.
if someone maybe go
Well,
skydiving, that's so uncomfortable that it just wouldn't be enjoyable. Or if someone maybe get like on
mm,
a certain like a haunted house, it's so uncomfortable
wait,
to do.
skydiving? Don't you? Ain't that your job?
I don't hop out of the.
true.
If I got to get out of the aircraft, it's something went horribly wrong and I might die.
Fair, fair.
I think it's really cute how I don't know, like it makes sense that Kevin's idea of fun involves like kind of just uncomfortable, but like bearably uncomfortable things. Like,
Mm.
yeah.
Why does that
Mm,
make sense? Are you saying he makes you bearably uncomfortable?
I feel like that's actually Kevin's mode that he often likes to exist in, but I don't think it's necessarily like a pure expression of yourself. I think that you like to like play that role. Like you like to poke things a bit, you like to like
Yes.
hyperbolize just to sort
Yes.
of see what's what. Like
Yes.
you're not as concerned with being understood as you are conveying a big message, and then like you get into the nitty-gritty maybe more and more and more as you like know people. That's my impression.
Yeah, low key, like I've never heard anyone say that before, but Leslie just gave like a really sophisticated, concise, succinct, like thesis statement of like my person and my MO. Like that shit was like that shit got me shook for a second because psychologically she's like
Feel
spot
free to
on.
use it for your Twitter bio. Feel free.
Or your
For free.
your Tinder profile?
Yeah.
Nah, but
Let me
she's
make your
right.
Tinder profile, Kevin. We'll get you your boo.
Hey, baby girl, if you watching this, Leslie's joking. She's not gonna make me a Tinder profile. Um, But no, Leslie's right, because like I don't know, like I can't have fun if people around me are being stiff. Even if you go do something that's supposed
Mm,
to be fun, like maybe your work has like a morale day or like a hangout day, and you go like that's why liquor is such a good like an easy like
mm.
jump to like having fun or like loosening
Wait,
everybody
also,
up.
I love how you were the one who like let's not talk about it, and then you're the one who keeps bringing it up, like like drink. Kevin was like, "Oh, we shouldn't talk about alcohol in this episode," and then look who it is.
No, we talked about the other thing, not
Okay, yeah,
alcohol.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But but no. Like, yeah, I think it's fun to like, cause I don't know. I just again, I was the kid who, when my parents took me out to like a fancy restaurant as a child, and I was talking loud, and they told me, shh, like no, like it's people don't like it when you talk loud, and so I would get upset. Basically, the breakdown is I refuse to stand on ceremony. So like in church, I'm cussing, I'm smoking cigarettes, I'm wilding out, saying inappropriate shit in front of the pastor, because it's like,
That's more so you just trying to tear down the barrier of like that you
well, it's
can't do that more, right? More so
and
than like
yeah,
you
but it's
want
it's
to.
it's it's uncomfortable, right? Like making people uncomfortable because I want to shock. I because also it's an immediate way for me to. It's immediate way for me to, whatever your reaction is, whether you don't
Test the
react,
metal.
it's I'm gonna
Drop somebody
test
into a bucket of acid, see what color they turn, beep bop boop,
exactly.
what elements separate. Yeah,
So
I
so
see
like with
you.
so like with fun, it's like oh Leslie's lit. Leslie had a bit of
I
that
am
body.
on my I'm on my game right now.
to be clear, you're
I'm gonna
listening to
read you next, Vincent.
the after hours bottomless. It's you can
True.
record during the day. It's late at night, so
Normally
everyone's
we're like
groggy.
bright eyed, bushy tailed. For me, it's usually like in the morning. Yeah, it's out. It's late hours now. Sorry, go
Um,
ahead.
no, but yeah, like I think there's I think everyone on a spectrum has a level of ability to be like inappropriate in a good way, or like be like yeah, inappropriate is a good word. And so when you can
Mm.
get like especially when you're having fun, whether you go out to play like a sport, whether you go out to like do a game night, do karaoke, if you can get someone to like get out of themselves and like
Mm-hmm.
be like uninhibited for a second, or in what they would consider inappropriate, that's like the primal recipe, like the primal like the
The
prime ingredient
primal recipe.
Primal.
I
prime
love that.
for it's like the best recipe for, it's like the best possibility for like fun to like, that's why,
Mm,
which again, that's
I
why
agree.
alcohol is such an easy vehicle to that space.
I'll pick that up and say that I think I agree. Some of my pathways that I explore is a little different. Like one thing I've been thinking about is how as powerful, actually probably more powerful than alcohol, but much harder to get there, is when you're just with people that not only like you know well and you trust, but also that there's like established,
Mm,
like you've built a rhythm into your relationship of like uplifting each other. Not that you always have to
mm-hmm,
be happy and positive, but you
mm-hmm,
know how like distinctively, like, not that I don't enjoy some good humor that isn't just like uplifting, you know what I mean? But there is
mm-hmm.
something to be said, like, you know, sometimes you get around friends and it's like what comes out when you're joking is a little more like, it's just not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a
Yes.
little toward a bend of like, I don't know. I guess just people who have like a vested interest in you, and it's been demonstrated like again and again and again. Like when it comes down to it, like I'd rather you be lifted up, like than
Mm-hmm.
leveled or brought down. And so I feel like that too can be like some of the funnest times I've had is just with people who we have that level, and like it doesn't actually matter what you're doing. It doesn't mean every time you're with them it's always like so fun, but that I think is a primal recipe too. Just like with alcohol, it doesn't guarantee a fun time, right? Like it depends on the
Mm.
situation, what you guys are doing. I think it's the same thing. Um, I had a crystalline thought that I might be forgetting now. It was something along the lines of like, with the right people, it doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't mean it will always be fun. And then like with the right situation, it almost doesn't matter the people. Like I think the right
Mm.
situation is also, which is kind of in the vein of like some good drinks, like some good
Oh yeah.
music, like
Oh yeah.
the right things have happened leading up to it. Um,
No, that's one that yeah, 1000%.
yeah. But I'll add one more thing, which is I think it's kind of similar to what Kevin's saying in exploring like things that are just uncomfortable. But something I find so delightful and fun is like when people, like do break social norms.
Mhm.
It's just, I guess I really like when people like surprise me. So like if you're in a group, you know what I mean? It's just like when people don't play by the rules.
You have an example?
I guess just like it's hard to give one clear example. It's definitely happened. It's just like when people like if you meet somebody at a party and like they're not doing the normal, like, I don't know, the normal thing people do. Like it's just sort of, it's something I feel like you can sense. Like you can feel a freedom of like we're not operating in the normal social construct of like what people do in whatever situation you're in. So it's kind of similar to what Kevin's saying. I'd say that's a recipe for me for like group fun, different than solo fun.
Leslie does love the unconventional.
I do.
I love that in theory, and it sounds so good, and like I can distantly picture it, but whenever I try and like give some color to it, I can only picture
Just like someone doing something really awkward. Is that what
something
you're
really random in the corner. Like I keep picturing that Black Mirror episode where there, I can't even describe it because it's such a weird episode, so that went nowhere. We can cut that out.
It is one of those things. It's really hard to pin because that's the thing. I feel like two people could do the same thing, and one person would be operating by the conventions and one person wouldn't. Because it's not even necessarily just what you do. It's like, you know what I mean? I think people in themselves are really beautiful and interesting. So I guess it's fun to me when you have the opportunity to, in any sense of the word, see glimpses of what makes people so interesting, which most often if they're just sort of in their head, me included, like I can get really awkward and in my head and uptight and all these things, and you can't really see people, like they can't see you, you can't see them when you guys are operating in that mode. So yeah.
Kind of related. I feel like it's also fun for me when there's like a lot of laughter involved, like any environment. Thank you for listening to the Bottomless Podcast. Never mind.
Please subscribe on Instagram.
No.
Yes,
But there's like a certain element of like just laughter for the sake of just having joy and laughter, and not laughter for the sake of being funny. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I guess the what I'm trying to exclude from this is I feel like there's sometimes you get around groups of people where like people are trying to be funny and there's like an anxiety of if they're not funny, as opposed to like I feel like I say things that I find humorous very dryly, but honestly if no one laughs, like I'm still having a great time with my like sick little dad jokes. And I feel like people that can have that same, like maybe we're laughing or maybe we're just saying things we find humorous, but like no expectation of like having to laugh out loud. I don't know, that kind of shit is fun to me.
That's a perfect example of operating outside of like a social contract or construct, right? Because it's like you're not doing this for approval or because you need some kind of feedback. It's just like you're enjoying yourself. You're having a great time.
It's like that one. It's like that one time, Vince, when we were in LA and we were with Charles and Leslie. Charles is this really great friend that Vince has there, and like he introduced me to when I first came to LA. And so we were out at this like
the name dropped,
formerly known as Pinoy Prince, but carry on.
Let me find a champagne pop Pinoy print. So we were out at some grocery store getting liquor, and then as we were checking out, some dude walked up, and of course, like Vincent, like Charles, like that community of just dancing and people, like like they just you can run across people like where you're in LA and like they know. So some dude walks up, Charles, and starts talking, and we're sitting there at the self checkout, like done with our order, like about to walk out. And they talk for a smooth 5 minutes, and then then Charles doesn't introduce us, which I don't care, but just to be funny and unconventional and shock value, I go like there's a pause and a break in the conversation. The guy kind of stands there, and I go, "Hey, I'm Charles's boyfriend. Nice to meet you." It was just like this prime opportunity for like
Evan's making this a very G-rated version of
primal recipe.
Or like Vince, like we go to brunch at this. I forgot what the place is called, but it's his favorite place that Charles, and whenever Vince takes me to see Charles, we always go to the same place that I really like.
Federal up in North Hollywood.
Federal, and they have bottomless mimosas. And so I like the first time Vince took me there, maybe the second or third time, I just got drunk and started saying bottomless, like yelling it in the middle of this restaurant, and it was like the most lit situation ever. But I knew Vince would find it entertaining because like,
and thus the name was born. Bottomless.
Bottomless, Charles.
Just imagine a group of like ratchet little gremlins. Kevin not being the worst one. There was someone else there that was even worse. Being embarrassingly drunk and just yelling bottomless for no reason.
That's hilarious.
But like to tie all these conversations, these different aspects, these different interactions, and all these different like ingredients we're talking about, I'll like insert the statement. It was a psychology statement. I forgot who said it, but they said you can learn more about a person in an hour of play than a year of conversation. And it was such a
Oh, yes.
it was such a
I
profound statement.
so agree.
Because it just resonates, right? You're like, yeah, like it's not really about. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I've had this thought, I don't know if you guys feel this. Like when I kind of like arrive at little thoughts, I'm like, yeah, that's like definitely a thing. Like, I think that's true until it gets revised or thrown out or whatever as I keep growing. But like for a long time, then I'll bump it. Like it sort of just stays in my mind and gets referenced at different points when things like light it up. But I've just been thinking for so long, like to joke with someone, to laugh with someone, to play with someone, really to play with someone. It's like it requires all the things you think of as like taking a lot of work or more heavy or more serious. And you can get there though, like with like, if you've had a long time with someone and you've built that great relationship, or you can just get there immediately with someone if you have the raw materials that would make for those other, like being able to have really serious talks, being able to talk about hard things, whatever. I think that gives rise to it because you just feel so comfortable with someone. Like if you take the road of, like just an established relationship. But I also think people you can like quickly, immediately play with, at least in my definition of the word and sort of like what's fun to me. It's also just like, that those like building blocks are there. Not that you ever have to get into more serious stuff, but like, because I just don't think you can really play with someone you don't like vibe with on a certain level of, if you wanted to be serious, you could,
Yeah.
Just the same way the funniest comedians often have had like really sad things happen or really hard things, and that's what makes them so funny because they understand like both sides. I think.
How would y'all describe y'all's humor?
Oh, you trying to trick me?
Actually, you should answer first, Vincent, because this is an interesting question applied to you.
I feel like is it? I feel like I just accuse you guys of something.
Your humor is I can't make the noise.
What noise is that?
You know what noise I'm talking about, right? I cannot do it. When you make that reactive noise, especially when Kevin's saying something like,
yeah, I do. I just want you to do it a few times. I know what you're talking about. Kevin's throwing it back on the couch right now. If you're on YouTube,
I need to smoke, so I'm opening the window.
I feel like my humor is a little. Actually, I have thought about this recently. I feel like I really like the absurd. Like there's like an absurdity to my humor, like saying like a mix of absurdity and dry and sarcasm. So like just saying something that is like the opposite of what's actually happening, or like stretching it to something ridiculous. But again, like in a dry way where I don't necessarily need like a roaring laughter to follow it. Like I would love to have a dry conversation with someone and we're just saying absurd shit that's like not even real, but we're just like keeping the bit going. Like I think that's my humor.
That's a good description.
That is. It is. Leslie?
I think my humor actually kind of changes depending on like the friendship. For some reason, I'm just really funny with some people and not as much. It just doesn't come out as much with other people. I think when I'm at my prime and my peak, my humor is sort of like we both understand that we're just little humans, like operating, and we're like these vast things in these little bodies. And it's always sort of like referencing like, yeah, actually, I guess that would be sort of a sense of absurdity, but it's sort of like when I'm with someone who it's like, yeah, we just kind of, it's actually hard to describe. I've never tried to, but it's this sort of this little twinkling eye, like, and so that lends itself to if you're talking to someone and like the way you react, like they know how you would react, and then you just say something that's like da da da, like you act stupid or something about something, It's the joke isn't even like what you said. The joke is like how out of character you're being and like the way you're being out of character because you guys know each other so well. And like it's just stupid also because it's like, yeah, we're having this serious conversation, but like at the end of the day, there's this bigger thing happening. I don't know if that makes sense. That's my first attempt at trying to describe when I'm in my peak funny mood.
Glad to catch you both off guard, Kevin.
So I can't.
This is our audition. We're each describing our humor to see if someone wants to pick us up as like and jet away from this podcast.
So like inappropriate things like shock value.
know.
Really?
Like things that like only that comedians would only talk about behind closed doors with other comedians.
You like getting away with stuff.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. If you're one of the Christians who I go to church with right now, just don't tell Pastor Chris I'm about to say what I'm about to say. But like,
I'm stressed.
like perverted shit and like
What does
like
that mean? What define perverted?
like not necessarily perverted in like sexual way, but like perverted humor that's like dark, sick, and twisted, and it's like you like perverted in the sense you're playing with things that like when you say I can appreciate humor from like you said comedians, you can appreciate humor because you know they've been through so much dark and fucked up shit, like they lost a family member in a fucked up way or something. So but they're able to play with those ideas in a realm of comedy of like it fucked them up, but they carry it in a way of they're harnessing it into their craft. So like perverted in the sense of like dick, like sick or dark or like twisted or like in a
Dick.
dick.
I was like, oh, okay.
There's a podcast I listen to like whenever they talk about dick, they go dick segment, dick talk, dick segment. Shout out Brilliant Idiots. Yeah, I which is funny because like on the outside, I really, especially now that I'm older and like in these spaces like of the military and church, and I've been in the church but came back to the church. There's certain spaces where I really prefer to like look like, and I'm shy. I'm super shy naturally. If I'm not around anyone I don't know, so I prefer to like be seen as like polite and like calm and like amicable. But then if I get
Asian in you.
yeah, for sure. But then if I get around like Vince and JoJo or like you guys, if I get around people I know and I love, or like people I trust, I really love being like perverted and sick and dark and twisted and saying and even with my goal. Here's the game that I play on a constant like. And me and Vince have known each other. Me and Leslie have known each other for a long time, probably since I was like, let's see, 17 in high school, and I'm like 29, so 12 years.
But we were in like consistent contact for a big portion of the in between. So it's been delightful reconnecting at this stage in life.
That's true. So with Leslie, it's a little different. With Vince, my actual game that I play every time I see him or every year is, all right, Vince has known me for 10, 11, 12 years. How can I say something after 12 years of friendship that's going to genuinely shock him? So like, it's this game I play of like, how can I actually like,
Are you
wow.
ever successful? Because I feel like Vincent doesn't get ruffled very
Shock,
easily.
I feel like is a strong word.
You're not shocked. If I can get that, like I think Leslie, that sound effect you were going for, if I can get that sound effect out of him, then it's like, all right, it's like yeah, like like whatever he does. If I can get that out of him, and usually I just have to go to like the cheap, easy trigger words that like you're not supposed to say in public because it's un-PC.
Like the hard R.
The hard R or like the
I'm
F
just
word
kidding.
or like.
That's a joke. You've
But yeah. That's true.
I feel like I have a similar relationship with bitch.
Mm.
I use it loosely with like the right relationships, but I use it way less.
Actually,
on
same.
relationships.
It's like I really understand the whole like idea of reclaiming a word. Like it's really funny in the right, but that's for me. I mean, I don't know about for you guys why it's funny.
You know, wait, this is like not on.
Let's just
It's not
spiral
related.
on and yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts? It's great to have a woman to ask this. So I feel like I have conflicting
Not
feelings
that.
on the word bitch.
Mm.
About like 3 or 4 years ago, Kevin would say I was going PC, but I was really just trying to be mindful about my vocabulary.
Yeah.
And I was trying to exercise bitch from my vocabulary. I no longer really care to do that. And the reason is I feel like there's like a patriarchal element to bitch with misogyny. But also I feel like being around like a lot of queer people and like certain Black culture, bitch is also, there's like that kind of heritage of bitch. And I feel like, especially like people will pick on me for not being super manly. I feel like I have a little bit of license to play around with that word, in my opinion. And to be clear, if you disagree, don't hold back. But
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I have license to use bitch. But what do you think about men in general using bitch? And do you think it is like inherently the same type of dynamic as saying the F word or the N word?
This is so interesting. What a fun topic. This actually is fun to me. This
Yeah.
is an essence of fun to me.
Yeah, I fucks with this topic too. I don't know if we'd put this out, but
And it's interesting. Yeah, we'll see. Let's just keep recording and see what's what. It's interesting you brought up the idea of people sort of saying, like, picking on you for you not being manly. I've never heard you like say that.
yeah, when I was like younger,
Me neither.
no one does it
Hmm.
now. And I don't want to make it more dramatic. I was never like bullied or anything.
Oh no, I mean it's something that I think like that's one way of putting it. I mean, I definitely think that you buck the typical archetype, especially of like a patriarchal man. So it's a good thing. Um no,
Thank you.
I think that if you wanted like I'll just give you my answer as Leslie. Like, you know
Don't
what I
yeah,
mean?
don't.
Yeah, like I
I'm
can't
genuinely
give you
curious.
yeah. So my genuine thoughts, I would never think that just because a man uses the word bitch that they are automatically inherently have ill intent or view women in a degrading way. I add a level of respect if I understand that a man has put thought into his use of the word, and I appreciate, because I think that we all need to do that for each other, and not just like
Mm-hmm.
men need to do it for women need to do it for men. I definitely have come to there's lots of nuance that I want to build, but like being totally honest, I firmly believe like the patriarchy has hurt men very much too, and I don't think that's very disputed if you look into it. So I don't at all.
Ooh, and we can have a podcast episode about that in itself if you want
We
to.
should do it. We should do an episode on the patriarchy. And that would not at all be like focused just on how it hurts women in my mind. Like
Mm.
it's just a
Ooh,
harmful system.
yeah.
But so if anything, it adds respect if someone's thought about it. I mean, if I'm honest, if I meet a guy and he just like is throwing it around left and right, I wouldn't be thrilled. But I'm just really, really open. Like I'm open for like it taking a year for me to really figure out somebody's intentions, and I care about people's intentions more than what would be easily flagged as like, oh, they need to be like, I don't, I mean, so when Kevin and I first reconnected, I was a little thrown off with some of the language you use and some of the way you talk about women, and like at some point, I actually would love
Like
to
he's
just like,
always.
well, I feel like I would love at some point to hear more about like your
Mm.
thoughts, like, but it's just one of those things that doesn't feel urgent to me in the sense of like I think that you're causing harm to me or to, you know what I mean? And that's like a high level, like I do think there's a level of responsibility where like if it seems like I'm doing something that's actively
Mm.
harmful without even realizing it, I would want you guys to be like, hey, like maybe
Mm-hmm.
we should talk about this. um like if there was something I had no idea about with like Puerto Rican culture and I was like talking about something and you were like, wow, like this is worth,
Mm.
because you not knowing this or you speaking this way is like actively harmful. I would definitely want to know.
For sure.
But all that to say that those are pretty much my honest thoughts, is like it's not thrilling, but it's not at all like a cancellation. If you have thought about it and you still use it, I think the context it makes sense to use it is in relational context and like
Mm-hmm.
people who understand. I think if you're just like, it's an easy word to call women, that's to me just like very
Mm.
lazy, and it is harmful because it
Yeah.
has been used in very harmful ways. Like the whole, it's just adding to a very long list of ways that our language denigrates women, which
Mm-hmm.
it's not just about language. It's like that language reflects like a larger system. Those are
For
my
sure.
thoughts. Oh.
Kevin, does this give you like PC trigger vibes? Are you triggered by this convo?
No, because the way Leslie is very fair. Like, I, 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 I deal in a realm of reciprocity in terms of discussing ideas that might seem like controversial, and you're trying to debate with somebody you might not have a similar opinion on. And so
Mm-hmm.
with Leslie, she's being like in terms of reciprocity conversationally when you're debating or arguing. One of my rules in terms of arguing and debate is be fair. Be fair. If you want me to be
She
fair,
is fair.
wait, she what?
Who? Who is fair?
Me. I'm
Oh, okay.
referring to myself in the third person. Learn my humor, bitch.
Oh, she lit. Oh, she lit. She lit.
No, but Leslie's
Okay, good.
very fair. So like, there are some people who like they just talk and they almost sound like a mockingbird, like
Yes.
a puppet for society. Whereas Leslie, you can tell it feels like whenever she's expressing or conveying a thought, like she just did, it seems like she's genuinely searching inwardly for an
It does
honest
seem like that.
for an honest answer of how she feels. And it's like, oh, Leslie doesn't sound like a puppet, like, so I can respect that. And she also, Leslie just said, like, I think it can, like, her giving the honest answer of, I think it can work contextually, relationally. It's like, oh, like, yeah, there's fairness in that. So like, yeah, honestly, it doesn't trigger me. I just, it triggers me when, like, if someone makes like a hard and fast rule of never okay, never say it, no matter what,
No,
'cause
I
it's
feel you.
wrong.
Because then it's more about like protecting your own image of like goodness than actually engaging with human beings. Yeah, and if anything, I will say I was just thinking about this the other day. It's been great, Kevin. Like, being friends with you again in like a day-to-day sense, because
Mm,
I think I do need to be careful. I think if I were to fall one way or the other, I would fall more toward the end of the spectrum that's just like annoyingly PC, because
mm,
for me it's more so about like I just really don't want to hurt someone on
mhm.
accident, and so if I can avoid it, I will. But that's why to me it's like, well, when you have relationships, you can suss out the more beautiful complexities and shades. But it's been good for me because it's like it's a good I don't have other people in my life who are the way that you are, and it's been honestly good. Like,
Oh,
and when
thank
my
you.
friend, yeah, like when my friend was saying she feels like you're pure, she was saying what I've sort of observed, which is like, it's obviously not about the outward, like masking, not in a bad way, like masking as in like yeah, but it's about like at the heart of it all, you can see like your heart. It's like a good heart.
Yeah, like, and tying it back into the idea of fun, I think that's one of the core elements, because like when you're trying to have fun, especially with like I'll use me
When
as
you
an
try to talk about fun, it's not fun.
well, so like
Boo on me.
I, I no I'll use me as an example, but I think anyone can relate. When you're trying to have fun, people can have very outlying or marginal weird ideas about what's fun. So for me, inappropriate; for other people, dark. So if someone steps into a different realm of their idea of fun, but to the person they're interacting with, it's like, oh, that's like inappropriate, like that offended me or that bothered me. Um, if you know the person well enough to know that their intent was like, no, it's like coming from good, like you kind of afford, like Vince does that with me a lot, where I think he affords me a lot of leniency of like, I say things that like in the moment, it's Vince is like, that like that's Kevin and like it's not okay, but like, but it's Kevin, he knows me, so he doesn't like cut me off or like charge me with wrong for it. He might like tell me and like, nah, that's not okay, but he'll tell me in a loving way. So like,
And
yeah,
also,
like,
it's our relationship. I think kind of going back to Leslie, like,
mm,
honestly, most things you say, if me and you were talking, if me and my close friends are talking, it's probably not likely that you'll like shock me or offend me, or even if you say something that's like wildly inappropriate. I think I get like more probably annoyingly paternal when it comes to like things that my friends say around other people. It's like I'm like
Yeah.
doing the social like the consciousness for them, for better or for worse. I think I have license sometimes, but I mean other times I'm probably just being a little too like you're not I'm not in
Your
charge of
son.
what you say. Yeah.
that's real. That's real.
Actually, I'll just pivot since I've been doing a lot of like saying how I see you guys on this episode, or if this doesn't make it into the episode. But Vincent, something I was thinking about with you from these podcast talks is that I feel like it's a distillation of something I've always noticed about you, which is that the way that you are with friends, I feel like would make them think that like because you're so like accepting and open and like just
Mm,
you do create a lot of space for whoever you're friends
mm-hmm.
with. So I think that lots of times your friends would think, oh, so he's naturally open to like my type of person. You know what I mean? And so that's why it's always so interesting when a bunch of your friends get thrown into the same space, because it's like,
Fucking mix
whoa, we
match.
are literally from like different parts of the galaxy. Whoa, we thought that Vincent was like sort of like, you know what I mean? Like on our end of the spectrum, but it's like, whoa, like what?
It's been a thing literally my whole life. That's been a thing.
Yes,
And Leslie
yes.
actually always has brought up our whole friendship too, because I do it less now because it exhausts me to unite people. I'm too old for that shit. But when I was younger,
Unite people.
I would
Did I
just
brought
drive
up?
my little monster around Fayetteville, picking up any little hooligan that was hooting and hollering, just mixing and mashing friendships. Yeah, that's
Well,
funny.
I wasn't even thinking of it in just the context of like when you bring people together, but that's one place that's obvious. It was more so like the beauty of how much I think it's a very unique thing. Like it's like, you know, I feel like people can tell when like they're friends with you, but like you're sort of doing work to like get into their zone. But I feel like everyone thinks like, oh, Vincent's in my zone. And then like we all get together and we're like, oh. He clearly can't be totally in all of our zones. So yeah.
He's a chameleon.
Thank you.
No. Are you a chameleon or are you
I feel like I'm not a chameleon
you're not a chameleon, you're like
in the sense that like I don't like, in my opinion, like you mentioned, like creating space. I feel like I leave enough space where I don't have to be a chameleon. I'm not like meeting everyone exactly where they are.
yeah.
If
No,
that
I
makes
wouldn't say
sense.
chameleon. There's not a better animal I can think of though that's like representative.
But I have thought about that a lot. I'm like, why am I able to be friends with so many different types of people?
So you don't feel like it's a conscious thing? Like a thing that you
No,
actively
no.
try?
I'm sure it's something that I've like sharpened as I've gotten, like it's just like a skill that, or like a muscle I've worked out a lot, but it's like definitely not conscious.
Mm.
3, 2, 1. Liquor.
Lipstick.
Bottle.
Ooh. Oh, okay, guys. Wait. Lipstick, liquor, and bottle. We've said it several times tonight.
Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Drunk.
Convenience
Bitches.
store.
Ooh, God, what
You
a
guys, I
beautiful
gave
ending.
you like a
What a
wide open.
beautiful ending. We have to end the game there. That
Yeah, yeah.
All right, who wants to do the outro?
Well, that was fun.
That
Thank
was
you
fun.
for listening to the the bottomless podcast. That's spelled BTTMLESS. And seriously, we appreciate you joining us in, and we hope everyone is doing okay in this day after the election. Peace.
bottomless.